Hello and welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers lore. Today we're going to talk about none other than the Terrorzord. Yes, that Zord that you probably know absolutely nothing about because, well, it was piled by Elgar and he's kind of a dunce. Now, if you don't know anything about Power Rangers Turbo, well, you're in for a treat today because this is one of the Zords that was shown in Power Rangers Turbo. And Turbo is considered one of the most hated series there is because, well, they had a whole cast reboot and it had Justin in it. And everyone seems to hate Justin because he was a small kid who grew up to be a Power Ranger. Kind of upsetting because in truth, the original White Ranger in the Sentai was about the same age as Justin and just grew to the same sizes. But, you know, American audience didn't like that. So we have to have Tommy. Now, let's go into the history of the Terrorzord. Now, the Terrorzord was created by Porto, the mechanic slash scientist slash a whole slew of a lot of different things of Divatox's entire crew. Now, he came up with different ideas. He was the main thinker behind everything, and while also a coward. He was literally just a big raft boat monster. Literally a raft boat. You could probably lay him down and still use him as a raft boat. Lifeboat, sorry. And get away with it. Now, Porto created this project for an unknown period of time, and he called it the Zord Project, quote unquote. And that means that Zords weren't just Power Ranger items, that they were more than just that. They can be created by anything. They're just giant mechas, essentially. But no, don't call them mechas because they're clearly Zords. So he creates this one, and he mentions it needs a test drive to Divatox to make sure it doesn't kill the pilot. Divatox is really excited, and then she's like, giving her like weird sneer, and goes, I'm going to choose Eldar, my favorite nephew, so to speak. Eldar is going, wait, what? And then he gets thrown in there and tells Elgar to basically wait just a bit. Hey, hold on, I got to put like this pin in there, and it should be all set. But, Elgar is kind of a buffoon and decides he's going to go off and go fight the Rangers himself. Now, he arrives on Earth pretty like, hey, I'm here, I'm going to wreck shit and stuff, and is immediately greeted with none other than the Blue Centurion, who was kind of writing some parking violations, just writing them down, and he goes like, oh my goodness, what is this? Which I don't understand how he can write parking violations since he's from the future, and I don't think it... Does he have to pay it from his future or pay it to the town they're currently in of Angel Grove? It's kind of complex. But, the Blue Centurion summons his Zord, the Robo Racer, combines with it, and goes to do battle against this evil Zord. Now, he is doing pretty well, but then is overpowered when it's handcuffed against him. Yeah, handcuffs are used against this RoboCop, essentially, and he gets beaten down pretty handily. Now, this is when the Rescue Megazord intervenes, and they do battle, but a little artillery power causes a little problem there, and the Zord is forced to teleport to one side to avoid the overwhelming power of the Terrorzord going on there, but it still manages to hit the Robo Racer. Now, this is when the Terrorzord summons its great battle axe and does an energy slash down to the Megazord, causing it to basically cripple and fall, and right as it's about to walk menacingly forward and finish the final blow, the right arm, per se, falls right off mid-stroke, forcing it to retreat in battle. Mainly because they forgot that pin. That pin would have, if he would have remained like the 5 minutes, he would have been able to kill the Rangers right then and there and been possibly the greatest hero of every monster out there for defeating the Rangers. Now, it would fly off into space to retreat and would spend most of the next episode in repairs. Now, it would only show up later on after the Monster of the Week, Mr. Guific, would basically be defeated, and it would go up against the Rescue Megazord once again. They would fight into a stalemate, but then Guific would grow giant and double team them, but that's when the Robo Racer would come in as well and be a 2-on-2 match. Now, it'd be a pretty good match, and it would kind of go away with the monsters at first until Guific sends a blast of its chemical metamorphic spray cream, so to speak, and it accidentally hits the machine of the Terrorzord. Now, that's when things get weird because it turns into a normal-sized camel with Elgar sitting on top of it. Yes, it's a camel now. And it's assumed that it basically goes off to live in the desert for the rest of its life because that's kind of where they go off that way. However, eventually the goo on Cassie's dog, Jetson, transforms him back into a dog because it wears off. So that means there's just a Terror Zord laying out in the desert somewhere, left abandoned, and nobody ever goes to claim it. So you think Porto had been like, well, it was so close to winning, we could just grab it up. That means some government has got this Megazord there and is going like, I know how we're going to beat the Americans. We'll use it to take a... Yeah, sorry, I'm doing my Russian accent. I'm kind of a little biased there. Sorry. But, so yeah, Elgar had it, and then it just, it doesn't go his way when he has to deal with the camel. Now, that is the end of the Megazord. It's never seen again after that, and is one of the few actual Megazords that is pure evil. It wasn't brainwashed evil, it wasn't turned evil, it wasn't piloted by someone else rather than the Rangers. It was just an evil Megazord, quote unquote, being evil, being the term, because it was just piloted by Elgar, made by Porto for the forces of darkness. And, mind you, it is considered one of the most powerful Zords of the Zordon era, because it single-handedly took on two Zords pretty well, and Elgar was the one piloting. Now, if we had a competent pilot, if you had Goldar piloting that thing, Goldar would have destroyed them, in truth. You know he would, because he was handling other Zords with his own Zord back in the day. If he had that Zord, my goodness, we would have seen a wholly different series of Goldar just conquering everybody. But no, it was Elgar, that dunce. Now, this leads to another question. How did Porto know how to create a Zord? It's not really knowledgeable how they did so. Before then, we only knew that basically Zordon knew how to create them, or Alpha knew how to create them, or Billy was taught by them how to create them. The only other person we knew how to do so seemed to be General Havoc, but it was never made clear how they knew how to create this possible Zord thing. Now, the only other Zords we've seen in the franchise before then would be the ones from the Boom Studios comic strip, and those are just made out of parts from other Zords, such as the Grave Zord, the Dragon Zord, all that type of stuff. We don't know. Now, the Serpentera, that could have been stolen by none other than Zed, or if he's still from the canon universe, them saying that he is from Eltar, from the comic book universe, it's easy to understand that. The Eltarians made it. Now, who made this whole evil Zord complex, we don't know, but we know Porto created this Zord, and it doesn't know how long, what he did to create it, or what else is there out of, like, the creation from this. Did they steal the plants or something? Or was his own process of elimination of going, well, we need to adjust this thing? And if it did, this guy is a genius. So that is the Terrorzord. Now, it's only was in 2 episodes of Turbo, but it nearly destroyed the Rangers. And I kind of like its Viking-type helmet there. It's got that big horns there, and its brutal axe. Other than that, it's pretty basic looking, in truth. But it worked well, and its basic complexes allowed them to nearly kill off the Rangers. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us in another episode of Power Rangers Lore. If you like this episode, make sure to like, comment, or subscribe. If you have any other future requests, feel free to ask. I'm going to start doing some more of these Zords, because apparently Zords and villains are the most requested things so far I've noticed in the polls. So that's what we're going to keep doing from then on out. Thank you very much, guys, and may the power protect you always.